If you've ever been treated like the family ATM while being called selfish, hit that like button and subscribe right now. You're not going to want to miss what happened next. My name is Rachel Kim, and for 6 years I was the family scapegoat, the selfish daughter, the one who never helped despite having a good job, the ungrateful child who forgot where she came from. My older brother Jason was the golden child, married to Stephanie, a real estate agent. 2 kids, Tyler, 8, and Emma, 5. They lived in a renovated craftsman house in North Seattle that my parents never stopped talking about. Jason worked in sales at a tech company, making around $110,000 annually. Stephanie's income was inconsistent, maybe $40,000 in a good year. I was the engineer, a software developer at Microsoft, making a $165,000 base salary plus stock options. Single, living in a modest 2-bedroom condo in Redmond. No kids, no spouse, just me and my career, which made me the perfect target. Every family dinner, and there were many, as my mother insisted on twice-monthly gatherings, included some version of the same conversation. Jason would mention his kids' activities, the new deck he was building, or the vacation they were planning. Mom and Dad would beam with pride, asking questions, offering to help with the grandkids. Then, attention would turn to me. "Rachel, when are you going to settle down?" Mom would ask. "Rachel, you make all that money and still live in that small place," Dad would add. "Rachel, your brother could use help with his mortgage. You know how expensive things are with 2 kids." Mom would insist. I'd smile tightly and change the subject every single time. Because here's what they didn't know. I'd been helping them for 6 years extensively, secretly. And they had no idea. It started in 2018. Dad had a health scare, a minor stroke that left him unable to work for 8 months. He was 62, not yet eligible for full retirement benefits. Mom worked part-time as a library aide, making maybe $25,000 annually. They had a mortgage on their Ballard home of $2,800 monthly, and were 2 months behind when Dad called me, his voice shaking. "Rachel, we're going to lose the house," he said. "The bank sent a foreclosure notice." "How much do you need?" I asked. $5,600 to catch up. "And we still don't know how we'll make next month's payment," he replied. I didn't hesitate. "I'll handle it," I told him. "We'll pay you back," Dad promised. "Don't worry about it, Dad. Just focus on recovery," I said. I paid the $5,600 immediately. Then I set up automatic payments from my account to their mortgage company, $2,800 monthly, every month, without telling them. I let them think Dad's partial disability checks and Mum's library salary were covering everything because I wanted to see something. Would they appreciate me without knowing what I was doing? Would they value me just for being their daughter? The answer was brutal. Jason, meanwhile, lived beyond his means. The craftsman house cost $780,000, purchased in 2017, with a mortgage they could barely afford. The new deck, the annual Hawaii vacations, the $60,000 SUV, Tyler's private soccer league, Emma's gymnastics, all of it was financed by credit cards and home equity loans. My parents praised his success constantly. "Jason's doing so well," Mom would say, "providing such a beautiful life for his family." Meanwhile, Jason would make snide comments about my lifestyle. "Must be nice having all that money and no responsibilities," he'd say, his tone just friendly enough to avoid being called out. "Rachel's sitting on her pile of gold like a dragon," Stephanie would laugh. "A little too hard, a little too mean." Mom and Dad would smile uncomfortably but never defend me. The comments escalated over time. At Christmas 2023, Jason announced they were planning a 2-week European vacation. London, Paris, Rome. How are you affording that? I asked innocently. We work hard, Stephanie snapped. We deserve nice things. Unlike some people who just hoard their money, Jason added, looking directly at me. I said nothing. I let it slide like I always did. But Mom's next words hit differently. Rachel, you could learn something from your brother, she said. He knows the importance of family experiences, of creating memories. You're so focused on yourself. I'm focused on myself? You never offer to help. Never ask if we need anything. Just keep your money to yourself. She shook her head sadly. I raised you better than that. Something cold settled in my chest, but I smiled and changed the subject. That night, I went home and pulled up my financial records. Every payment I'd made for my parents over 6 years. Every mortgage payment. Every tax bill. Every insurance premium. Every emergency repair. I organized them chronologically, creating a spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and purposes. I printed everything out. 6 years of bank statements and cancelled checks, 147 pages total. Then I made copies. Multiple copies. Because if they wanted to call me selfish, I was going to make sure they understood exactly what that word meant. The breaking point came in March 2024 at the twice-monthly family dinner. This time it was at my parents' house. The house I'd been paying the mortgage on for 6 years. Jason and Stephanie arrived late as usual. The kids ran wild in the backyard. Mum cooked her usual spread. Korean food that took hours to prepare. Dad sat at the head of the table, looking tired but healthier than he'd been in years. Dinner started normally with updates about the kids, Jason's latest sales numbers, and Stephanie's new real estate listing. Then Stephanie turned to me. Rachel, we need to talk about something. Okay, I said. Jason's company is doing layoffs. He might lose his job in the next quarter. My stomach dropped. I'm sorry, Jason. That's terrible. We're going to need help, Jason said, not looking at me. The mortgage, the bills. We're stretched thin. How can I help? I asked. Money, obviously, Stephanie said, her tone sharp. You make way more than us and have no expenses. We need about $5,000 a month until Jason finds something new. $5,000 a month? I asked. Is that a problem? Jason's voice had an edge. We're family. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from tonight. I don't have $5,000 a month to spare, I said. Stephanie interrupted. You make $165,000 and live alone in a tiny condo. Where does all your money go? That's my business, I replied. Rachel, Mom's voice cut through, sharp and disappointed. Your brother needs help. This is what families do. We help each other. I help, I said. No, you don't, Mom continued. You've never helped. Not once in all these years. You just keep your money to yourself, living your comfortable little life while the rest of us struggle. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Dad nodded slowly. Your mother's right, Rachel. You've been selfish. We raised you better than this. Jason leaned back, vindicated. Stephanie crossed her arms, satisfied. I looked at each of them, at their certainty, their absolute conviction that I'd never helped, never contributed, never sacrificed. I've been selfish, I repeated slowly. Yes, Mom said firmly. And it needs to stop. Family comes first. Not your savings account. I reached into my bag. I'd brought it knowing this conversation was coming, feeling it building for weeks. I pulled out my folder, the thick one with 147 pages of financial records. Before we continue, I said calmly, I want to make sure I understand. You're saying I've never helped this family. That's right, Stephanie said. Never contributed financially. Never, Jason confirmed. Just kept my money to myself. Yes, Dad said sadly. Your mother and I have been disappointed for years. I opened the folder and placed the first page on the table. A bank statement from March 2018. This is interesting, I said quietly. Because according to my records, I've been paying your mortgage for 6 years. The room went completely silent. What? Mom whispered. I placed another page down, and another, creating a paper trail across the dinner table. $2,800 monthly mortgage payment. Every month since April 2018. That's $201,600. Dad's face had gone pale. Rachel ... double quotes. Property taxes, $8,400 annually, I continued. 6 years, that's $50,400. You couldn't have, Jason started. Homeowner's insurance. $1,800 annually. 6 years, that's $10,800. I kept placing pages, kept listing numbers. New roof in 2019, $18,000. HVAC replacement in 2021, $9,000. Plumbing emergency in 2022, $3,400. Electrical panel upgrade in 2023, $4,200. Mom's hands were shaking. Why didn't you tell us? She asked. I wanted to see if you'd value me without knowing what I was doing. I said. Turns out you didn't. I placed the final summary page on the table. Total. $247,200 over 6 years. But according to you, I've never helped. I've been selfish. We didn't know, Dad stammered. You didn't ask. You assumed. I turned to Jason. And you, living in your $780,000 house, taking European vacations, driving a $60,000 SUV, calling me a dragon sitting on gold. Do you know why I don't have $5,000 a month to spare? Because I've been paying Mom and Dad's mortgage so they wouldn't lose their home. Jason's face had gone red. You should have told us. Why? So you could ask for more. I pulled out another document. Speaking of which, there's something else we need to discuss. This document was different, thicker, with an official bank logo. 3 months ago, I requested a full accounting of Mom and Dad's mortgage. I wanted to make sure my payments were being applied correctly. I slid it to the center of the table. That's when I discovered something interesting. Dad reached for the document with trembling hands. In 2020, someone took out a home equity line of credit against Mom and Dad's house. That's not ... Mom started. The applications were submitted digitally using Dad's name, his social security number, and his income information. The money was transferred to an account at a different bank. I pulled out another page. An account registered to Jason and Stephanie Kim. The silence was deafening. You stole from them, I said flatly, looking at Jason. You took out loans in Dad's name, using his identity, and pocketed the money. I didn't steal. Jason's voice cracked. I borrowed. I was going to pay it back. With what money? You can't even pay your own mortgage. Dad said I could use his information. No, I didn't, Dad said, his voice hollow. I never said that. I didn't even know about these loans. Stephanie's face had gone white. Jason told me you approved it. I didn't approve anything. Dad's voice rose, something breaking in it. Rachel's been paying our mortgage. How could I approve loans when I didn't even know the mortgage was being paid? Because you had access to their computer, I said coldly to Jason. Their passwords, their personal information. You've been in this house twice a week for years. You knew they weren't paying attention to their finances. Because Dad has been recovering. And Mom has been overwhelmed. So, you committed identity theft and fraud. This is ridiculous. Jason stood up abruptly. Sit down, Jason. a new voice said from the doorway. We all turned. Two men stood there, one in his 50s wearing a suit, one younger with a badge clipped to his belt. I'm Detective Mark Rivera with the Seattle Police Department Financial Crimes Unit, the younger man said. This is Robert Chin from Pacific Northwest Bank's Fraud Investigation Department. What is this? Stephanie demanded. Rachel contacted us 3 weeks ago, Detective Rivera said, walking into the dining room. She provided documentation of identity theft and loan fraud involving her parents. We've spent the past 3 weeks verifying her evidence. Robert Chin stepped forward, looking at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Kim, I need to confirm. Did you authorize any home equity loans between 2020 and 2022? No, Dad whispered. We didn't. Did you give anyone permission to use your personal information to apply for loans? No. He nodded, then turned to Jason. Mr. Kim, the IP addresses for the loan applications traced to your home network. The phone number used for verification calls belongs to you. The account receiving the loan funds is registered in your name. I can explain, Jason stammered. Jason Kim, you're under arrest for identity theft, wire fraud, and exploitation of a family member. Detective Rivera moved toward him with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Wait. Stephanie jumped up. This is insane. We're family. You can't. Ma'am, if you are aware of the fraud, you may also be charged. I didn't know. Stephanie's voice went shrill. Jason handled the finances. He told me his dad approved everything. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to expose a toxic family member to protect yourself. Because what happened next was devastating. Jason didn't resist as they handcuffed him. He just stared at me, his expression a mixture of betrayal and disbelief. You called the cops on your own brother. You stole $189,000 from our parents using Dad's identity. What did you think would happen? I was going to pay it back. When? After the European vacation. After the new deck. After Tyler's private soccer and Emma's gymnastics. My voice was ice. You've been living on stolen money while calling me selfish. Detective Rivera led Jason toward the door. Stephanie was crying now, mascara streaming down her face. What about the kids? What am I supposed to tell them? Tell them the truth, I said. Tell them their father committed fraud. After they left, the dining room felt like a tomb. Mum sat frozen, staring at the papers scattered across the table. Dad had his head in his hands. The untouched food was growing cold. You set up your own brother, Mom said finally, her voice hollow. I documented his crimes. There's a difference. You could have talked to us. Worked it out as a family. I did work it out. I've been working it out for 6 years, by paying your mortgage while Jason stole from you. I stood up, gathering my folder. But you still called me selfish. Still praised him while dismissing me. Still demanded I give more while he took everything. We didn't know, Mom said. That's the problem, Mom. You didn't know because you never looked, never asked, never cared enough to understand what I was actually doing. I picked up my bag. You saw what you wanted to see. A successful son and a selfish daughter. It never occurred to you that reality might be the opposite. What happens now? Dad asked, his voice broken. Now Jason's facing federal charges. The prosecutor thinks he'll get 3 to 5 years. The bank will want restitution all $189,000, plus interest and fees. Your house has a lien against it until that's settled. Our house? Mom gasped. The house I've been saving for 6 years. Yeah. I moved toward the door. The bank is working on a settlement. Since you didn't authorize the loans, you're not legally responsible, but the process will take months, maybe a year. Will we lose the house? Dad whispered. I paused. Considered making them sweat. Decided against it. No. I've negotiated with the bank. I'll continue paying the mortgage and handle the legal fees to resolve the fraud. The house stays in your name. Clear title. Once this is settled, I'm covering everything. Why? Mom asked. After what we said. After how we treated you. Why would you still help? Because unlike Jason, I actually care about this family. But I'm done being your scapegoat. I opened the door. I'm done with the twice-monthly dinners where you praise him and dismiss me. I'm done pretending to be less than I am, so you feel comfortable criticizing me. I'm done begging for basic respect from people who should give it freely. Rachel, please. I'll pay your mortgage until the house is clear. I'll handle the legal mess Jason created. But our relationship, that needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. Based on honesty. Based on who I actually am, not who you assumed I was. What do you want from us? Dad asked. I want you to think about the last 6 years. About every time you called me selfish while I was paying your bills. About every time you praised Jason while he was robbing you. About every time you demanded more from me while taking everything for granted. I paused at the doorway. Then, if you want a relationship with me, we build a new one. One where I'm not the family ATM or the convenient scapegoat. I left them sitting at the table, surrounded by 147 pages of evidence that their selfish daughter had been their salvation all along. The immediate aftermath was catastrophic for Jason and Stephanie. The arrest made the local news. Seattle tech worker charged with family fraud. Jason's company fired him immediately, not just because of the pending layoffs, but because identity theft was a termination-worthy offense. Stephanie's real estate license was suspended pending investigation. Washington state takes fraud seriously, even when you're not the primary perpetrator. Their income dropped to zero overnight. The Craftsman house went on the market within 2 weeks. They moved into a 3-bedroom apartment in Renton, a significant downgrade from their Craftsman showcase. Tyler had to leave his private soccer league. Emma's gymnastics ended. The European vacation was cancelled. Deposits lost. Stephanie's parents took the kids for weeks at a time while Jason dealt with court appearances. And Stephanie scrambled to find any work since her real estate career was dead. Jason called me once, 6 weeks after his arrest. I almost didn't answer. Rachel, please, we need help. The kids are asking why we have to move. Why Daddy's always at court. What do you want me to say, Jason? I'm sorry. I messed up. I know that. But Tyler and Emma don't deserve to suffer for my mistakes. You should have thought about them before committing fraud. I did it for them. To give them a good life, to provide experiences. You did it for yourself, I interrupted. To maintain an image you couldn't afford. To look successful. And you blamed me for your failures. I was wrong, he admitted. Yes, you were. You called me a dragon sitting on gold. Told me I was selfish. Convinced our parents I never helped. And the entire time I was paying their mortgage while you were robbing them. I paused. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Silence on his end. I watched you get praised for 6 years, I continued. I watched Mom and Dad beam with pride at your success, while dismissing my career as if it didn't matter. And when they needed help, when they were about to lose their house, I stepped up silently because I loved them. Because that's what family actually means. Rachel. You don't get to call me now and ask for help, I said. You made your choices. These are the consequences. What about Tyler and Emma? I've set up education accounts for both of them, I said. $50,000 each, untouchable until they re-18. They'll have money for college that you can't steal or squander. I kept my voice level. That's for them, not you. Don't contact me again. I hung up. He took a plea deal 3 months later. 4 years in federal prison. Full restitution of $189,000 plus $47,000 in interest and fees. And a permanent fraud conviction on his record. He'd never work in tech again, never get security clearance, never hold a professional license. His sentencing was in August. I didn't attend. My parents' reaction was more complicated. For the first month after the dinner, they called constantly. Mum left tearful voicemails. Dad sent long emails explaining, justifying, apologizing. I responded to none of them. I continued paying their mortgage, handled the legal proceedings to clear the fraudulent loans from their property, and paid for the attorney who represented them in the fraud case. But I didn't visit, didn't call, didn't attend any family gatherings. In May, 2 months after the explosion, Mum showed up at my condo. I saw her through the security camera, standing at my door, looking older and smaller than I remembered. I considered not answering, but finally, I opened the door. Rachel, please. We need to talk. I let her in. We said nothing for a moment. We sat at my small dining table, the one Jason had mocked as sad, compared to his custom-built farmhouse table. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Your father and I have been in therapy, Mom said finally. Processing what happened. Understanding our role in it. Okay, I said. We enabled Jason for years. We saw his spending and never questioned it. We praised his lifestyle without asking how he afforded it. We wanted so badly for him to be successful that we ignored the warning signs. She took a breath. And ... We took you for granted. Her voice cracked. We assumed you were fine because you seemed fine. You had a good job, a stable life. You didn't ask for anything. So, we thought you didn't need anything. I needed respect, I said. I needed to be seen. I know that now. Tears were forming in her eyes. We treated you like an ATM and a scapegoat. We praised Jason's performance while dismissing your actual accomplishments. We demanded more from you while expecting less from him. Why? I asked. Because he was louder, more visible. He made us feel like successful parents with his big house and his kids and his lifestyle. You were quiet, independent. You didn't need us. So, we convinced ourselves you didn't want us either. I said nothing. I let her sit with that truth. I don't expect forgiveness, Mom continued. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I see what we did. I see what you did for us. And I'm ashamed. Deeply, horribly ashamed. 6 years, I said quietly. 6 years I paid your bills, saved your house, covered your emergencies, and you called me selfish. Do you understand how much that hurt? I do now. Do you? Because it wasn't just the money. It was the complete dismissal, the assumption that I didn't care, that I wasn't contributing, that I was just hoarding my success while you all struggled, when the reality was the opposite. I know. And when Jason needed help, you immediately demanded I provide it, I said, my voice shaking slightly. No question about whether I could afford it. No acknowledgement of what I might already be doing. Just an assumption that I owed him, owed you, owed everyone everything while getting nothing in return. Not even basic respect. Mom was crying fully now. What do you want from me, Rachel? What would make this right? I want you to understand that you can't undo 6 years of damage with one apology. I want you to recognize that I needed a mother, not a critic. I needed support, not demands. I needed to be seen as a person, not a resource. I paused, letting the words sink in. And I want you to understand that I am not willing to go back to the way things were. What does that mean? It means no more twice-monthly dinners where I'm expected to perform. No more comparisons to Jason. No more assumptions about my life or my choices. If we rebuild this relationship, we do it slowly, honestly, and with boundaries. What kind of boundaries? I'll visit once a month, I said. Coffee or lunch, public place. 2 hours maximum. We talk about real things, not just surface updates. Actual conversations. You ask about my life and actually listen. I tell you what I need, and you respect it. Can I ask questions about what you've been doing? About your work? You can ask. I'll answer if I want to. But you don't get to judge my answers or tell me what I should be doing differently. She nodded slowly. Your father wants to apologize too. He can. Same terms. And Jason ... What about him? Will you ever forgive him? I thought about that. I thought about the years of snide comments, the golden child treatment, the fraud, the blame. I don't know, I admitted. Maybe, but not anytime soon. He needs to serve his time, make restitution, and actually change. Then we'll see. She hesitated. He's asking if you'll help with the restitution payments. No, my voice was firm. I'm paying for the legal cleanup because it affects your property. But Jason's restitution is his responsibility. He can get a job when he gets out. Work minimum wage if he has to. Figure out what the rest of us figure out without committing fraud. Mom flinched but nodded. That's fair. We talked for another hour, carefully, with long pauses. She asked about my work, really asked, and listened to my answers without interrupting. I told her about a project I was leading, and a promotion I'd received 6 months ago that I'd never mentioned. She looked genuinely interested, genuinely proud. It felt strange, unfamiliar, but not entirely bad. When she left, she hugged me at the door. Thank you for not giving up on us completely. I'm not sure what we'll become, I said honestly. But I'm willing to see. That's more than I deserve. Over the next 6 months, the slow work of rebuilding began. Once a month, I met my parents for coffee or lunch. 2 hours, public places. Actual conversations. They asked about my projects at Microsoft. My life. My interests. I asked about Dad's health. Mom's work at the library. And how they were handling Jason's incarceration. We didn't talk about money. And we didn't mention the mortgage payments I continued making. It just happened in the background, acknowledged, but not discussed. Dad struggled more with the situation. He'd idolized Jason, built so much of his identity around being the father of a successful son. The fraud conviction shattered that identity. I don't know who I am anymore, he admitted at one of our lunches in October. I thought I'd raised 2 successful kids. Turns out I raised 1 successful daughter and 1 criminal son. And I couldn't tell the difference. You saw what you wanted to see, I said gently. Jason was performing success. I was building it quietly. You valued the performance. I did, he sighed. And I'm sorry. We kept meeting, kept talking. The relationship remained careful, bounded, but slowly improving. I declined their invitation to Thanksgiving. Too soon, too much. They understood. For Christmas, I reconsidered. I sent a gift, a photo album I'd made, filled with pictures from my childhood, my career, and my life over the past 6 years. Each photo had a caption explaining what was happening, what I'd been building, and what I'd been achieving while they weren't looking. Mom called when she received it. Rachel, this is beautiful. I had no idea. I know, I said softly. That was the problem. Part 7. Can we see you maybe for an hour on Christmas Eve? I agreed. 1 hour became 2. We exchanged gifts, shared a meal, and talked carefully around the damage we were still healing. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the family I'd wanted, but it was honest. If you've ever had to walk away to save yourself, tell me your story in the comments. What would you have done in my situation? Jason was released in January 2028 after serving 3.5 years. He came out to a world that had moved on without him. His marriage to Stephanie had ended in divorce after 2 years. She'd married him for the lifestyle, and when that collapsed, so did her interest. She had primary custody of Tyler and Emma. Jason lived with our parents for 6 months while trying to rebuild. He worked at a grocery store, then a warehouse, cobbling together maybe $35,000 annually. His felony conviction blocked him from most professional opportunities. He wrote me letters from prison, dozens of them, apologizing, explaining, begging. I read them all but never responded. When he got out, he called. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. Finally, he showed up at my condo building. Security called me. "There's a Jason Kim here to see you. Tell him I'm not available. He says he'll wait. Tell him he can wait forever." I'm not seeing him. He waited for 3 hours before leaving. 2 weeks later, I agreed to meet him. Coffee shop, public place, 1 hour maximum. I told him explicitly, "This doesn't mean forgiveness. This means I'm willing to hear what you have to say." He looked different, thinner, older, harder. Prison had stripped away the arrogant tech bro facade, leaving something more raw underneath. "Thank you for seeing me," he said, his voice quiet. "You have 45 minutes. I'm sorry for everything. For the fraud, for stealing from mom and dad, for all the years of calling you selfish while you were saving us." He met my eyes. "I was jealous of you. Your success, your stability, your actual accomplishments. I was performing and you were building. And I hated that you made it look so easy." "It wasn't easy," I said. "I know that now. I know what you sacrificed, what you paid for, what you gave up to help people who didn't appreciate it. What do you want, Jason?" "Nothing. I'm not asking for help. I'm not asking for money. I just wanted you to know. I see what I did. I see what I destroyed. And I'm sorry." I studied him. I looked for signs of manipulation, of self-interest, but found only genuine regret and exhaustion. "Okay," I said finally. "I hear you. Can you forgive me?" "I don't know. Maybe someday. Not today." "That's fair." He stood to leave. "For what it's worth, Tyler asks about you. He remembers you used to bring him books, play games with him. He doesn't understand why you don't come around anymore." That hit harder than I expected. Tyler's 12 now. Emma's 9. They're good kids. Confused about everything, but good. I set up education accounts for them. $50,000 each. "I know, Mum told me. That's more than I deserve. It's not for you. It's for them." He nodded. "Will you ever want to see them?" "Maybe when they're older. When they can understand what happened and make their own choices about family." I paused. "But not while they're living with Stephanie. And not while you're still figuring out who you are post-prison." "I understand." We parted awkwardly. No hug, no promises. Just some acknowledgement that maybe, someday in the years to come, we might find a way to be siblings again. Maybe. I'm 34 now, still at Microsoft, and now a senior engineering manager earning $285,000 plus substantial stock options. I bought a house last year, a beautiful craftsman in Wallingford with 3 bedrooms, a home office and a garden. Paid cash. My parents' mortgage will be paid off next year. 7 years of payments, $235,200 total. The fraudulent loans were resolved. The bank wrote them off as losses. My parents' credit recovered, and the title is clear. The house is theirs, free and clear. I see them monthly. The relationship is careful but real. They ask about my life. They listen when I talk. They don't compare me to Jason anymore. There's nothing left to compare. Mom retired from the library. Dad volunteers at a community garden. They refiguring out who they are in their 70s without the golden child narrative to define them. Last month, Mom showed someone a photo of me at a Microsoft event. "This is my daughter, Rachel," she said proudly. "She's a senior engineering manager. She's brilliant." It was the first time I'd heard her describe me that way, without caveat or qualification. Just pride, pure and simple. It felt strange for a moment, but good. The money I spent on them, $247,200 over 6 years, could have been a down payment on a bigger house, an investment portfolio, or early retirement funding. Sometimes I think about what I could have done with that money if I'd kept it for myself. But then I remember I wasn't just paying their mortgage. I was testing a hypothesis. Would they love me without knowing what I was doing? Would they value me just for being Rachel? The answer was no. But learning that answer was worth every penny because it freed me. It freed me from chasing their approval, from trying to earn love that should have been freely given, from shrinking myself to make them comfortable with my success. I'm not the selfish daughter. I never was. I'm the daughter who saved them, who protected them, who sacrificed for them while they praised the son who robbed them. And now they know it. The greatest victory isn't making them apologize. It's building a life so solid, so authentic, so true to myself that their opinion, whether praise or criticism, becomes just information, not a definition. Jason thought he was the successful one, the golden child, the one who had it all figured out. I was the one who actually built something real, something sustainable, something that didn't collapse the moment external validation disappeared. And in the end, that's the only kind of success that matters. The kind you build quietly, honestly, without needing anyone's permission or approval. The kind that survives exposure.